And welcome to Classic City Blue.
I love what I do.
Chief was very much involved into the neighborhood.
Finding your own way of policing and having confidence in it.
Handle the basics.
How do people treat you different?
Answer your calls.
You have a bigger impact than you think you do.
What kind of effect would it have on you, your family, or better yet, the agency?
And welcome to Classic City Blue, a podcast that introduces you to our employees and the specialized units within Athens-Clarke County Police Department. I'm your host, Lieutenant Enrique Rivera, and today we have two very special guests, none other than El Jefe himself, Chief Salters, and the Executive Director of the Sparrow's Nest, Jamie Scott. How you guys doing today?
Oh man, I'm excited to be here.
I'm excited to have y'all.
Blessed. Glad to be here.
Well, we're gonna kick it off fast. We're gonna get to the nitty gritty today. First question I want to know is, how did y'all meet?
Depends on who you ask.
Chief, let's start with you. Let's start with you, Chief.
Oh, wow. Young 25-year-old patrol officer working Zone 5, Rock Springs area, Broad Acres. Back in those days, it was very much still a crack epidemic and a lot of issues. And I was a police officer, wanted to get out of the car. I wanted to know the people in the community and talk to them. I felt like my job was to help, so kids didn't see certain things. So it was drug dealing, things of that nature. I had a niche for that. And being on the streets and talking, that's where I met Jamie on the streets then. And from there, we were friends sometimes and foes at other. And just kicked off. And, here we are 27 years later. And, I'm just proud of Jamie and who he is and the husband, the son, and just everything he's done and how he's given back to the community.
So, Jamie, would you agree with that, or do you have a different story?
I want to start off, man, by first giving God all the glory and the honor.
Yes, sir.
Allow me to sit down and have these meaningful conversations and to sit down with somebody who's dear not just to my heart, my family's heart, the community, the Sparrow's Nest or whatever else. But now, Chief gave y'all the watered down version. I guess he had to do it like that because of just his image or whatever else. Chief jumps out the car, right? We're in the hood. This is before my Jesus come to Jesus moment or my conversion into Christianity. We were in a place that he called all those streets, on the west side of Athens, Hancock, Rock Springs, Broad Acres. These different streets and blocks at the time during this crack epidemic did not go to sleep 24/7, 7 days a week. People trapping. What I mean by trapping, for those that don't understand, or I may be talking a little language that me and Ricky and Chief may know, it means selling drugs or having a trap house or a drug house or whatever else. Chief pulls up on the scene. We hadn't experienced this before. Young white guy come through, clean cut, this and that, got his hair, he always kept his hair pretty sharp or whatever else, little pair of shades, and jumps out the car and start walking the beat. Hey, man, how y'all doing, this and that? We like, man, who is this? And he walking the beat. And he got to know people, guys trying to hide stuff, put stuff up or whatever else. But to make a long story short, Chief was very much involved into the neighborhood. And when I say involved, that's from the grandmamas, the mamas, the cousins, the sons, the daughters, and the trappers.
Now, Chief said you were friends sometimes and foe other times, right? Tell us a little bit about not the friend part.
Well, statute of limitation have ran out, right?
That's right.
Yes,
That's right.
We are beyond that point right now.
Man, there was times that where I'm doing my thing, I'm dirty or whatever else. Chief gets out, he know it, And after being in this arena of just being in the streets, you can look and see when it's a transaction going down, or it's just went down, or a guy counting the money. He ain't on no job or whatever else, and he may be, hey Jamie, what's up, man? Ain't nothing up, Chief, man. Leave me alone today, man. I'm trying to go home, man. Yeah, you sure you're trying to go home? Who was that Jamie just pulled off, man? He ain't see the transaction, but he knows it's a transaction that's went down. And I'm like this, man, look, man, leave me alone today, Chief. Now, that's just on a lower scale, but we had some altercations as well, that we wasn't friends at the time.
Well, and it's a cat and mouse game, right? That's the game we play. Sometimes we the mouse, sometimes we the cat, right? Now, here we are 20 years later, and it's a beautiful relationship, right? So what I want to ask you is give me a little background about how you grew up, and then I'm going to ask the chief the same thing, and how we got here.
Yeah, so I'm from Athens, Georgia, and I'm from the inner city. I'm from a neighborhood that was called Paldo back in the days. It's housing authority projects. It's called Brookside. Now they've renovated. They look a whole lot better, so on and so forth. My father went to jail on a double murder charge in armed robbery at the age of 6 months of age. So I grew up in the inner city without a father. I've witnessed my uncle get killed right in front of me at the age of 5 years old. My auntie lost her life over in those same apartments at a bootlegger's house. What I mean by a bootlegger, someone before the package stores opened up on Sundays, they were the ones that were, when the package stores closed down, they were still open 24/7. And on Sundays, they sold alcohol. And I had an uncle that ran one, and my uncle got killed by his wife in front of me, in front of that at his establishment at the time. I also started getting incarcerated at a very early age and introduced to drugs and alcohol at a very early age. I caught my first charge at 14. I caught another charge at 17, which was with 2 capital offenses. I don't know if I'm putting the cart before the horse, because I don't want to throw your questions.
No, you're good.
Or whatever else. Okay. And I was facing 2 life sentences. The Lord set me free. The system worked for me during that time of those charges. I was found not guilty of those offenses, which was armed robbery and murder. And I come back home. After that, my mom pretty much told me, said, hey, look, you're moving too fast. I got your little brother. Your older brother's been to prison already for armed robbery. You just coming back home. I don't want to mess it with him. Here go a suitcase, a Greyhound ticket, and your grandma waiting on you in Athens.
In Athens.
Yeah, so I get back, and I come back to Athens, and that's a few years later or whatever else, or later on I began to meet the chief. And that's how I met the chief. How we pretty much got here today is that what I do in the community now, which is at the Sparrow's Nest, the director, and I'm in ministry. I'm an ordained pastor and minister or whatever else. And we do quite a few things at the place that where I work at. It's for the displaced and those who are homeless in our community, and also those who struggle up under the poverty level. And we provide ID, birth certificates, prescriptions of non-controlled substances, bus passes from a social service standpoint, a clothes closet, food pantry, showers and laundry facility. But also we do a hot meal, a hot breakfast, a hot lunch, and classes which are called Breaking the Cycle, that are therapeutic evidence based, that where we allow our clients or our people that are taking the class the opportunity of making some money with a hat and gown ceremony. Stakeholders come in, and last but least, we do clean streets, where they pick up trash. Now, our annual things that we do, who the chief is very involved with, and he bring Kelly over and all the rest of the team, the other chiefs or whatever else, and we've been doing these for several years,
right?
5 to 7 years, chief, or better.
Better.
Where we do something called a Keep Warm Project. They come in, they sit amongst the people, laugh and joke, and just to have their presence in the Sparrow's Nest. And
now, you get a bus ticket from your mom.
Yeah.
You're here with your grandma.
Yeah.
Right? You're going through some hard times. What is your day looking like during that time? What are we doing? What?
Oh man, where the dope at? Where the dope at? I need a pack. I need a
Okay.
pack to put in my pocket. I got to put some money in my pocket. Where the dope at? Where they hitting them at? That's what they used to say, right? Where the traffic at? Where's the hot spot at? I got to make me some money. And I go over there. I'm hustling. I'm not working. I'm in jail, out of jail. So that's what it's looking like for me. Jesus ain't in the picture. I wanted some money, and I was trying to survive.
Now, how long? what ages are we when you're trying to survive? Like, are we 16? Are we still young?
I'm 18.
Okay.
I'm 18. I went
Just
down
living
when I
life.
was 17.
Okay.
I'm 18. I come home from off, facing 2 life sentences, facing 2 life sentences, and yeah.
Okay. So, Chief, you're not originally from Georgia.
No.
Okay. So tell us a little bit about you.
I was born in Jackson, Mississippi. Didn't have a normal childhood. Me and Jamie's talked about this a lot. When I was 2 years old, my biological mother left, never to be seen again. My father was a drug addict, in and out of jail. I was mainly raised by my grandmother. I had one sister, and he eventually got remarried. He was a long haul trucker, and when he would be home, he would be drugged out, and it was an abusive relationship. And then when I was 14, my grandmother pretty much had custody. There was a violent incident in my home with my stepmother where the police were involved. And so I was placed with my grandmother. And then when I went to the hearing, basically the judge says that you've never had a fair handshake in life, and your grandmother can't take care of you. So we're going to put you in a group home. We're putting you in state custody. Not something I wanted at the time, but that was God's plan. I was in a group home from 14 to 18, where I went to Jackson State University, historical black college university.
That's where Dion coached, right?
That's right.
There you go.
HBCU.
Brian.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
Yeah. And so, and then at 18, I really didn't have anything and no family support. I knew I'd always wanted to be in law enforcement. I felt like God had always had a calling for me to serve. And that capacity for me was in law enforcement. And in some ways, law enforcement early on in my life had an influence. And I wanted to be there to help people. And so, with my background, not really a lot, I went into the United States Army. I spent 7 years in the Army, and my last duty station was at Fort Stewart, Georgia. Military, very diverse. Me and my wife had 2 kids then, small ages, 2 and 4. And we came to Athens. I went to a job fair there in Athens, and Fort Stewart. And Athens was hiring, and I was able to get the job, and that was in 1998. And from then on, it has been about giving back and in the community. And Jamie spoke briefly about, coming down the Sparrow's Nest, handing out a jacket. And you're talking about people that are really at the rock bottom, where any of us, we could still be there, right?
Right.
Outside of God having a bigger plan and us having faith. So for me, giving back and being there and giving a coat to a homeless person and just telling them, God bless you, and a smile, it that does more for me than it does for them. Mm. And so I just appreciate Jamie and him giving me the opportunity to come down to the Sparrow's Nest, and whether it's a graduation, to be there to celebrate. Yeah. Well, a lot of them folks never put on a cap and gown. It's the only time in their life. They may be in their 60s, and this is the first time. And it means so much to them. And I think it's important that I'm there to support them in their journey in recovery. And, me and Jamie, we go way back, and we talked about that earlier, but we fought in the streets a few times. It's debatable who won the fight.
He said,
"We'll keep it 50-50.
We'll keep it 50.
I go for it since I'm surrounded with all the police, and I'm gonna let it be 50-50 today, Chief.
But no, that's kind of it in a nutshell. And for me, it's about having a servant's heart and just always wanting to give back. It's what fulfills me.
Right.
Obviously not the money, but it's the being able to give back.
And I know you asking a question, but I got to dive in on this real quick. One of the things that really makes my heart leap is when Chief walk in during these events or whatever else. It's people that's my age that got grandkids and or older now. They come running to him. Lisa Lumpkin and several other people. Mm-hmm. Hey, Chief. Hey, Salters, how you doing? They don't say Chief. They don't say anything. They just say Salters and hug him because he remember how they just remember the guy that he was in the neighborhood. And when I say the neighborhood, the housing authority projects or the inner city neighborhood. So
it's amazing. that you say that because, you know, I was an SRO for 4 years, right? And I dealt with a lot of kids during that point. And, you know, I can get, you know, I'm in the office most of the time now, but I've gone to places or I'll be in a situation or an area where they're like, oh, Rivera, we love, and you'll get all this hug, and you're like, man, I ain't seen you in a long time, but the love and, you know, hey, man, remember when you gave me a sandwich when I was hungry? You know, and that itself is worth anything, right? Because you just want to help people.
I'm thinking what it shows is in this line of work that you have a bigger impact than you think you do.
Yeah.
And you have an opportunity too many times to influence and help people. And when you do, they don't forget it.
No. And another thing is, you know, we're not glory hounds, right? You didn't do it to, you know, get your name or anything. You're just doing it because that's what's in your heart, right? So, Jamie, what was the turning point for you? Did somebody invite you to a church, you know, or did you just find God on your own?
Well, I found God on my own, right? I wasn't raised up in church. Man, my first time going to church, I've shared with y'all early on that my uncle got murdered in front of me at the age of 5, right? Well, I went to a funeral. My second time was a funeral. You know, it wasn't that I was introduced to Christ like that or whatever else, but when I was facing those 2 life sentences, man, I began to, you know, I seen this guy walking around the yard reading the Bible, and I had some friends that I was getting incarcerated, that I had got incarcerated with as a juvenile, saying, "Hey, James, man, you need to talk to Pops over here. You know, he don't do nothing but read it. Get him to pray for you, this and that. Take this plea bargain, take this life sentence. Don't crank up the jury because you're gonna get 2 of them and this and that." And I was like, "Man, I'm innocent." And the guy gave me some scriptures to read, and I began to read those scriptures, and I wanted more of that. And there was an incident when we were in this open dormitory, probably about a 50 or 60 man dormitory. I was sitting on the couch, I was sitting on the bunk, and we were playing spades on my bunk. And a religious worker came through, and he was passing out Bible tracts. This is in 1987, right? 87, 88. And, you know, back then, those guys, you know, the old saints, they preach heaven is real, hell is hot. All that other stuff with the flips and the flashing lights that's in church today, nah, they coming with the gospel just like that. Straight lace, no chase. And I said, well, hold on, man. I'm going to run up here and grab one of these Bible tracts. Hold my hand till I get back. I ran up to the bars, and he was on the catwalk, the other side of him. And I said, yeah, I like one of those. And I grabbed it, and I went to turn around. And he said, excuse me, young man, can I ask you a question? And when he began to ask me the question, he said, are you saved? And I just traditionally did what everybody else says. No, sir, I ain't saved. But when I get my life 100% right, I'm gonna give my heart to God. That's just something I heard. I didn't know the impact of that really.
I think most people wait, right? You know, instead of saying, I need you now. I'm at my lowest. I need you now. A lot of people wait. Let me get my life in order.
Right.
No, you know, just start from the beginning, right? Whatever point you are in your life.
Yeah.
So, you know, both you and the chief have talked about how you two work together and how he comes to your place and support each other, right? And I think that's very important because, you know, sometimes our interactions with certain people are negative. It's like, oh, the police, but it's always good to see good interaction, especially, Chief, you've been, here, 30 years? Close to? So, you know, long career. It's always good to say, man, okay, that person made it. So my next question, Chief, you know, what is there any additional programs aside from the Sparrow's Nest that we are involved in that we can, or that the people can know that we can, you know, come together and better the community?
Sure. So what I would say is, you know, when someone calls 911, it's not because they want to tell you they're having a great day. They're in a moment of crisis. And our work as law enforcement officers is to respond to emergency calls and, you know, provide legal, enforce the law. But we do so much more. And, you know, I think it's important to have relationships in the community, but I believe it's more than that. How do we build meaningful relationships? And we track that through our numbers where we know how many interactions, because I don't want our officers to have everything negative. I don't want every encounter they have to be. I want them to have an opportunity to build those relationships and have positive contacts within the community. And not just building relationships, but building meaningful relationships. So we do, if you start talking about programs, we'd be here all day. From Shop with a Cop, our involvement in just different organizations all through the community. We try to ensure, and something that I challenge the command staff and you as a lieutenant as well, is constantly looking at what are we missing? What community should we be spending more time in? And how are we missing that boat, and what can we do to be there to show support? And so there's not a weekend that goes by that we're not having an event that we're not at, from job fairs at churches to we just celebrated our 50th Citizens Police Academy, our Community Police Academy. Again, that's bringing the community in, letting them know who we are, get to know us, understand the difficult and dangerous job that we ask these young people to do. And we're human. We're going to make mistakes.
Yeah.
And when we make mistakes, we're going to fess up when we mess up.
Yeah.
But at the same time, our officers do an amazing job at providing a great police services for this community, and we'll just continue that.
Yeah, and I will tell you the best thing I love about how you run it is how transparent you are with the community, and I think that's helped us, the police department, build a great community relationship with our community.
Chief, another highlight. We had a event called the Paldo Reunion, and probably 1,000 people came by. We packed Bishop Park out, no parking across the street at the park or whatever else, and it was an honor of me to just give. I believe in giving people their roses while they're here, and their handshakes and their fist bumps while they're here, and it was a highlight for me, man, to be able to call the chief to come over and invite him and to give him a plaque, just of the great service of not just him but the rest of his department is doing in this community, man. But he showed up.
Yeah.
He showed up.
Yeah, and it's always important to show up, right? Especially you've been such a vital member of the community and the police department. So this, to me, this is going to be a very important question, because I look in the mirror and I say, man, what would I would have done, right? So what advice do both of you have for your younger self, first day on the job? What advice would you give each other? Like you, Chief, you bump into Officer Salters, not Chief Salters, on the first day of his job here. What advice would you give him?
I think the younger me, I would say slow down. Slow down a little bit. Although, back then it was wide open. It was a little bit different than it is now. Overall, what I would say in life is don't stop. If you look at the top of the ladder being your goal, whatever goal that is, and you get 3 steps up and you get knocked down 4, that's okay. Just don't stop. Just keep fighting. Have faith and stay focused on that mission. And I've seen that throughout my life, that, one of my lifelong goals is to be a police officer. And I didn't think with my background that I would ever be in that position. And so I would get knocked down that ladder, and I just kept climbing. And then same thing within the department. I've been fortunate to work in or supervise every unit within this police department, even things that administratively I'm not as competent with. But at the same time, it's keep fighting, and keep serving, and that's been the focus.
And you, Jamie?
First day on the job. Now
Well,
you said a younger Jamie. Now you saying
I would say if you bumped into 18 or 19-year-old Jamie, what would your advice to him would be?
Man, give your heart to the Lord. All this that you thinking that you want to try to accomplish, just trust God. Trust God. Give your heart to the Lord, man, and just be submissive to Him.
Now, I look at both of y'all's story, and it could have gone so many different ways. Chief, your situation, you could have easily gone on the other side of the law. Jamie, you were on the other side of the law and ended up where you are now, which is, to me, I think it's important for people to understand that we don't all come from, 2-parent homes or, middle-class families. Some of them come from, as Jay-Z would say, life of hard knocks, right? And it's important for people to understand that we all have, issues in our life, and we can overcome and be great. Now, I wanted to ask you before I close. I wanted to ask you. You wrote a book.
Yes.
Can you tell me about your book?
Well, I have a good friend of mine who's a minister of a Presbyterian church by the name of Bob Bowler. He's like 75. I'm 55. And we want to sit down and have some meaningful conversations on two different perspectives of looking at life through a set of lenses far as his as a white Caucasian male that was raised up in upper class buckhead kind of lifestyle, and from a perspective from a black male, Afro American male who was raised up in the inner city and began to have conversation around our faith, around our upbringing, around work ethics, around education, politics, crime, and some other things like that. And it turned out to be more than what we both could really even dream of, just the way it came together.
Now, you're doing great things in your life, right? You say you're 55, you're still young, right? Are you at your mountaintop, or what's the future? What's the future hold for James Scott?
Well, what the future holds for me, man, I just want to continue to. I'm living the American dream, but now as I get up in age, I'm focusing on what's in the reserve for us, me and my wife's retirement. What does that look like for my kids and my grandkids? And I don't plan on leaving the sparrow's nest no time soon, but they say, you want to make God laugh, tell him your plans. So I'm pretty comfortable where I'm at right now, even though my role is changing to where I may get another hire for as a director of this area, where I'm not putting out so many fires now, to where I'm just overseeing and fundraising.
Right. Now, Chief, 20 years ago, the first day I met you, and it's funny, you were doing a wheelie in the back parking lot. I said, man, that's the guy I want to be. Who is that? I want to do that guy. And then, I found out you were a detective then. I'm like, man, this guy's got it. You're the chief of police now after an awesome career. Where do you see yourself in the future?
Continue to serve where God wants me. And, my thing is, I want to be in the fight. I want to be a part of, one, taking care of our officers. We have amazing people here in this agency. I want to know more about them. I want to be able to support them in what they do every single day. Because I remember being out on the streets, and sometimes they're not nice, and sometimes you get hurt.
Yeah.
Of course, my biggest fear is that we have an officer hurt.
Yeah.
And so I want to be there for them. I want to continue fighting for them, as well as continue to build meaningful relationships in the community, tell people our story, tell them what we're doing, how we're doing it, and invite them to come and be a part of it. We're an open door. We're not trying to hide anything. That's kind of the future for me is to continue to serve in this. I've been blessed to be where I'm at, and I hope to continue serving.
Now, Jamie, you deal with people who are struggling on a daily basis, right? Sometimes people don't want help. How do we reach out to those people who are struggling with accepting help?
I want to just say kudos to you guys for, I don't know what that position is called, Chief, but when, I think his name is Robbie or Robert something.
Our co-responder team.
Co-responder team with people who have mental health challenges, that where, we can do a lot of things. And I told you guys as far as what we do in our ministry, but there's some things we just can't do. We're not equipped to do. And that's where you guys come in and help us to provide services to people we don't know what to do with. So for those that don't want help, what I always ask them, and it gets kind of crazy, go from 0 to 100 real fast in our ministry of hosting over 100 people a day that come through our doors. Help me to help you, man.
Right.
Help me to help you. I can't. Work with me. So,
and this question is for both. I obviously know the answer, right? Y'all have talked wonderful about each other in the last minutes that we've been here. But I'm gonna ask you directly, both of you. And I'll start with you, Chief. How do you feel about the man sitting next to you?
God, I'm so proud of him. I'll tell you. It was interesting. During Jamie's time from us being on the streets, from sometimes the fisticuffs, and sometimes I just saying, just go on, Jamie. You know you barred from here, just go on. And then to see him living on the streets, addicted to drugs, and then to go with how God has just been a part of his life and blessed him, to now he's out helping people in the community that suffered from the same disease he had, because it's a disease. And when we saw each other for the first time after he was director of Sparrow's Nest, it was like we just picked right back up off the streets. I thank God for Jamie. I thank God that he's in my life. I consider him a brother, a friend, somebody I can trust, talk to, and I just know that he's always going to lead me in the right way, and everybody needs a friend like that.
Yeah. Jamie?
Man, I tell you what, I can't say it any better than the chief said it, and we begin to get, just almost elevated at the same time. Chief director, ministry opened up for me, as a minister, so on and so forth. And just to be able to, I pray that those moments never get stale, that where me and him can say, man, look what God has done for us. He's been more than a friend of mine as well, advisor on certain things, so on and so forth, and someone who I trust with just having, you can't have conversation with everybody that that I could, I put my just all of my trust in as a friend first and foremost. And hearing just some stories that he shared with me, from his sister to his mom to his dad, so on and so forth, some things that he opened up with me just personally about and allowed me to come into that space. But the only reason that he allowed me to come into that space is because he trusts me as much as I trust him, and he's a dear friend to me.
That's awesome. I mean, the better story doesn't exist, right? At least in my world. And that's a wrap. Today's episode of Classic City Blue. I want to thank Chief Salters and Jamie Scott, and we'll see you next time.